everybody. Take two. Good morning on a Saturday. I'm in Croton-on-Hudson, New York. Alec Aarons, who's our producer for this, is in Pennsylvania, right? Alec, how are you?
I'm fine, Rick. Good morning.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for organizing this. And from Jamaica, not Jamaica, Queens, which is about 45 minutes from here. When there's no traffic. Live from Jamaica is my good friend Chad Robertson, who produced my two latest books, Phototherapy and Photo Quest. So, Chad, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Rick. Better than I deserve. How are you doing?
Well, you're such a gentleman. You're so calm, cool, and collected. Alec knows I'm a little hyper, so I appreciate the fact that you could actually work with me, because not too many people can work with me. But just a little background on Chad. And today's conversation is going to be about how you, the listener, you, the Facebook group member, and if you're rewatching this, how you can publish your own book. Because today, I think, well, first of all, I think everyone has a book inside them. And now we have the time to write the book. So I got introduced to Chad by my good friend Trey Ratcliffe, who's in New Zealand. He used to live in the United States. And he has an awesome book. And the book is Under the Influence, How to Fake Your Way into Getting Rich on Instagram. Influencer, fraud, selfies, anxiety, ego, and mass delusional behavior. And this was like a big seller. So I read this, and Alec read this, and I came up with the idea for publishing my own books after working with publishers, book publishers who basically take most of the profits, and you don't have a lot of control. So I said, Trey, how do you do this? Who's the key guy? He said, well, you have to work with Mr. Chad Robertson of writingnights.org. So the short story is, very short story is, I sent Chad a manuscript for the first book, Phototherapy. It was 35,000 words. So the short story is 3 weeks later. He has the ISBN number, the cover designed, all the graphics, and it's on Amazon. And he sends me the links, how I could track sales and promote it, and all this other stuff with a paperback and an ebook. So, Chad, that's the short story. Maybe you could share the long story, because a lot of people say, oh, Kindle self-publishing, this is like the easiest thing. I can do this myself. Why should I pay someone like Chad? And I think your starting price is like $800. It goes to like $1,000 or a little more.
Something in that range, yes. I'm always getting in trouble because I'm supposed to know the prices, but since I'm a horrible salesperson, I never remember the prices. But I like transparent pricing. I don't take the price depending on how much money you have in your bank account. You can go to my website. The prices are the same, but generally each book is between $800 and $1,500. Yes.
And you give free consultations, right? 15-minute So if someone, do you still do that?
100%. 30-minute consultation free. I realize I've been doing this a long time, and I realize that there's a lot of contradictory information on the internet. So I'm happy to dispel most of the snake oil, as it were, that people come across in this journey.
So what are some of the snake oil rumors?
Well, one of the things is that it's easy. Like you just said, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy at all. Yeah, I don't think that... I like narrative form, so I hope you don't mind me sharing the story. A friend of ours, Elaine, did her book with me, and initially she had one in mind, and I say Elaine like, this is nobody. She likes to communicate herself that way, but she is probably the best editor currently in the United States, and when we worked on her book, she had a way that she wanted to do it, and she's fantastic. She did a fantastic job, but it works. So she asked me to step in, and I took a hold of the book, and we were able to get it. Right now, it's number 2 on the bestseller list. We started at something about 649.
Well, hey, Alec, if we could put up the title of the book. Well, Chad, I think you're going in and out because you're so far away in Jamaica. But the title of the book is well, Doc. It seemed like a good idea at the time. The Unexpected Adventures of a Trauma Surgeon. And this went, wow, look at the reviews on this. Look at the ratings. So you molded this into something that is basically, I think a book has to be user-friendly.
That's one of the things, but it also has to walk like a book. It has to quack like a book. Readers are very discerning. If they see something that looks like a book, but it's not really a book, they know, they'll identify it immediately and they'll reject it. So right now, like I said, we're sitting at number 2, and I'm particularly proud of this book because we shouldn't win. We shouldn't win with this. Like, my competition is Stephen Colbert. You know what I mean? He Emmy Award winning comedian. There's no way I should beat him. And he wasn't doing me any favors. He did the audiobook version, which I recommend that my clients do if their book is doing well. There's some books that don't lend themselves very well to that format. But Stephen didn't do me any favors. He got Tom Hanks to do the audiobook, and Tom Hanks is only everybody's favorite celebrity. But we still won. We're at number 2, and I believe the last time I checked, he's at number 6 or something like that. And I don't think that he's going to beat us.
So promoting the book, though, is very important, too. Like, people say, how much time do you spend on social media? I know you, Chad, are not a big fan of social media. You're behind-the-scenes guy. I spend, 2 hours a day on social media listening, because a lot of people on social media, they talk. I took the Dale Carnegie course about 30 years ago. The course on public speaking and human relations. And one of the things they say, if you want to have a good conversation with someone, be a good listener. And you have to be a good listener. So I spend a lot of time on social media listening, but I know someone who did a book, and the person does not like social media, doesn't like talking or listening. So I think if you have a book on social media.
It's a hard combination.
Well, yeah, so right. Well, that's why they don't like being on social media. So, but I love being on social media. I love listening. I love interacting, and you do too, Alec. On our phototherapy Facebook group, I see you comment on a lot of pictures. Diane Gordon's pictures. Tommy Armstrong is here. Linda Denise. All the people that post pictures. We're a group. We're having a conversation, and I think so. Chad, promoting your work is really important, right?
So, Rick, we have our first question, if I may, from our good friend Linda Marshall, who writes, Chad, suppose someone wasn't smart enough to hire you first, and now they have a book. Do you sell consulting services to help them maximize their sales?
Yes, so that's precisely what we're doing with Lynn's book, and that's why she's number 1 seller list. It's
okay. I think we're having some connectivity, hopefully.
Yeah, I think Chad froze, even though he's in Jamaica. I think Chad may have to reload. Yeah, he's definitely frozen.
There he is.
Chad? There he is.
Yes, I can hear you. Alec went away. Both of you went away for a second, but I can hear you guys now.
Yeah, I was saying
I think it's better. It's better now. Sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
No, I just say even though he's in Jamaica, he's freezing. So.
All right. So, Chad, maybe you want to just quickly repeat the question to Linda's, the answer to Linda's question about what you do.
The answer to Linda's question. I'm sorry about that, Linda. Sometimes the satellites don't work as well as we would like. But yes, I absolutely will take your book. That's the same thing that we were just discussing. We do that for Elaine. Currently, she's number 2 on the bestseller list, and when I started with the book, she was somewhere around 600. So yes, absolutely a service we do.
So you do everything. You work with someone who designs the covers. And this is an interesting. Yes. I sent you the what I thought was a good cover, and I think your exact email was you said something to the effect of like Amazon doesn't like covers like that or something. It wasn't that different, but you made enough changes and you said this is Amazon likes these type of covers. So this is stuff that people come to you for. You know what kind of cover will be attractive to and stand out from millions of books on Amazon. You know the typeface that is very easy to read on the eyes. You know how you separate the paragraphs, the pages, you know all this stuff. I mean, this, like you were saying, this is not that easy to do, even though a lot of people say, oh, I could do it for free. Why should I spend, $800 or $1,000 or more if you want a, more intensive project?
So one of the things that I'll do right here, because I should, I'm going to give most of the credit to my partner, Ivica Jandrejevic, and I absolutely butchered his name. I apologize, Ivica. But between the two of us, we have probably 25 years worth of experience. Ivica has worked on over 750 books at this point. Everything in life is a competition. If you think that you're going to put up your book tomorrow and you're going to compete with people who have been doing this, I've been doing this for 13 years, Ivica has been doing it for 12, it's not going to happen. I'm not the most, I don't boast. I'm not that kind of person, but the reality is it's almost as if you were going to challenge Usain Bolt to a foot race. I mean, you can train as much as you want, man, but that's not going to happen. And Ivica is fantastic. He understands. We've gone to the point where we can look at a cover, and most books fail for 3 reasons, right? Just like a ship, they founder on 3 different reefs. Either your cover is horrible, your book isn't edited well, or a very, very common thing, we touched on this earlier, is authors hate to market. But if you're not marketing your book, if you haven't put the work in, if you're not active on social media, you're not going to sell well. That's just how it works.
Yeah, you have to do that. Speaking of Linda Marshall, she contributed to my last 2 books, and so thank you, Linda, for that. Your work is and your words of wisdom are amazing. But I really, again, I sent Chad the manuscript, but I think what's really important for a book, because it's one of the first things people see, correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, on Amazon, is a table of contents. And you structured the table of contents in such a way that it made it a lot more interesting, because I have a chapter on changing lanes, people who change careers, and I just had, changing lanes, but you actually added the person's name and what page it's on, and you did this in several sections of the book. So this is something that, I mean, to me, to some people that may say, oh, a little thing, changing the table of contents, but I think it's just visually appealing and much more informative.
Thank you for saying that, but all I did there is follow your lead, and then I apply what best in class publishing. I try to make every book as professional as it possibly can be. It needs to comport with a certain set of publishing standards depending on the kind of book it is. So your book falls under the Chicago Manual of Style Guidelines. Mm-hmm. So I take your wisdom and I just apply the Chicago Manual of Style to ensure, because again, it's a competition, right? Your book is there against books that the big 3 publishers have put out. If the readers can see, they can immediately discern that your book is different. They're not, we all have Netflix. If your book is not communicating to me that it's going to be a good use of my time, people are going to say, you know what, man, I might as well watch Amazon Prime.
Right. Hey, Diane Gordon has a question. Says, Chad, when is the right time in the process to engage you? When the book is complete, almost done?
Difficult question to answer. It depends on where you are in the process of self-publishing. So we were talking with Alec earlier, and Alec was pointing out that he's tried a number of titles for his upcoming book, but someone has beat him to the punch every time. But we leverage IBM's Watson. We leverage their AI capabilities, and we know what Amazon likes, or we like to think that we do. So we can leverage AI to make your title more palatable to your potential readers, to make it much more likely that your book will do well. But not everybody needs that service. Maybe you spent your entire lifetime composing. You've learned all these wisdoms and you'd like to share them with the rest of us. You don't need me to help you with a title if you came up with a title 10 years ago and it's perfect. Every author is different. What I prefer is I really like working the way that we did with you. You just gave me a Word doc. You told me, look, I would like the book to look like this. I would like it to do well in this category. And we'll go from there. That's our preferred practice. But anywhere, anywhere along this journey that you are, we're happy to help you out.
So how about the idea that, because there's another question here from Stephen, and I want to get to Tommy's question, but Stephen's is that he has a table of contents. So to take that one step further, would it make sense to have a table of contents, maybe 2 or 3 chapters, so that you could look at it and say, hey, from a style, if it's my first time out of the box, if from a style perspective or a format perspective, you may want to think about this, this, and this, so that as the other 9 chapters come to fruition, you're building on some of the back and forth and your expertise?
No, and I think that's a little bit of the snake oil that we talk about. Rick has this beautiful quote in his last book where he mentions, I'm going to butcher it, but it goes something like the most important, how does it go, Rick? The most important piece of equipment in photography is 12 inches behind the lens.
Yeah, it's an Ansel Adams quote. The most important accessory you have is at 12 inches behind the camera, right?
Yeah, so most people...
Meaning your brain.
Meaning your brain, right. Most people engage these coaches, they engage these people, and the reality is you need to write the book. If you're not writing a story, if you don't have the actual, knowledge is not easy to come by. It comes through experience. Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hour rule. I'm sure we've all heard of this. If you have knowledge that you can distill and share, you should write a book. If you don't have that, you should not write a book. So if you have the first 3 chapters, and now we're talking about formatting, we're already going down the wrong path. You need to finish the book. Tell the story, whatever the story is. Trevor Noah put out a book recently, and he said when he started the book, he thought the book was about him. And then halfway through the book, he realized the book was about his mother. It turned out to be a smash hit. The reality is you need to write the book. If you're asking these questions while you're writing it, yes, commit your story.
And I think everyone does have a book inside of them. It could be, a how-to book. Most of my books are like how-to books. And Alec, we are going to get to Tommy's questions because I think he might want to do a photo book. Yeah. But I think everyone does have a book inside of them. And I would say, I'm usually in a rush to do things. Like if I'm learning a new song on my bass guitar, which is over here, I'm usually in a rush to do it. You can't really rush a book. You can't really say like I'm going to be done by 6 months from now, because it might be 6 years. I'm actually working on a book. I'm going to talk to you about this, Chad. It's a novel. It's a murder mystery. Actually, I got the idea before my son was born. So I've basically been working on this book for 30 years. And I'm 90% done. I just don't have the best. No, I'm 90% done. But, I mean, it's not. I don't want to put it out yet. I'm going to put it out under another name, by the way.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, I think everyone does have a book inside of them. They have something to share. We could all learn from someone. And again, today, I think with people stuck at home, I think children's books are doing really well now, because parents they got to find stuff for the kids to do. Susan and I don't know if you know this, Chad, we have 7 children's books. 6 of them are 3D books where kids wear the 3D glasses and the pictures pop off the page. But, if someone has an idea for a children's book, about maybe a butterfly in the backyard or whatever, pursue your idea. Never give up.
You couldn't have said that any better, Rick. Never give up. You're not going to... This thing takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of hard work, but the rewards, if you do it right, are substantial. Like I said, you can't break the laws of physics. It's not possible. If your book is not communicating that, it's worth people's time, if it's not edited well, if you're not marketing it well, it won't do well. But, once you've taken care of those 3 things, you put a little bit of perseverance to it, you'll be all right.
You mentioned editing. So before I sent because I'm the worst proofreader in the world, as Alec probably knows, every email I send him probably has about 37 typos in it. And even after 41 books, I'm a terrible proofreader. So before I sent you my 2 manuscripts for the last two books. I had my brother read it. I had my brother Bob Salmon read it. I had Susan Salmon read it, and I had another editor read it because I wanted all these different opinions. But you also offer editorial services. I know you read everything. So if someone's listening to this, say, "Oh, I don't think I'm the greatest writer in the world. I'm worried about." A misplaced modifier. I end my sentences with prepositions like the nuns told me never to do. You offer these type of services to polish a book.
Yes, I do. And the package that you chose for both books, one of the things that we do, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, so we've developed some software that does what we call proofread polish. We leverage AI. Authors tend to make the same kinds of mistakes, and you don't have to be a good writer to put out a book. So
I know that.
I have found that a lot of us have gotten I'm not going to touch that. I found that a lot of us have gotten incorrect or incomplete advice when someone is teaching us how to write. And I think the best advice comes from Stephen King, is probably the United States' greatest writer, even though in some circles people frown on you if you say something like that.
That's right.
But he says that you should write the book, then after you write the book, you put it down, let it steam, then you come back to it, and then you edit, write drunk, edit sober. And so no, you don't have to write well. And when you send your book to me, I'll make sure that when you go out into the world, you don't go out there with, you don't go out there twisted in the wind, as it were.
That's really, really important to know. So, Alec, what is Tommy's question?
So Tommy is thinking about a photo ebook. So how can you help him with a photo ebook?
As opposed to my books, which are just text.
They're just text. So Trey's book has, I don't remember how many photos, but Trey has a substantial amount of photos in his book. I believe it was somewhere over 700. The thing that you want to do with images, you need to make sure that they're at least 300 dpi. If they're 300 dpi or greater, you won't have any problems. We have a couple tools that will assist you if that's the case. We even have an AI tool that will guess the missing interpolations, as it were, and upscale your image if it's not 300 dpi. But that's the most important concern, that the images are 300 dpi, so when somebody sees it on their iPad with the Retina display, it doesn't look like somebody did it in their basement. It looks professional.
So it costs more, though, to do a book with. It costs more. Does it cost more to produce a book with photos? And my guess is if it's going to be printed, it will cost more, especially if it's color.
No, I'll charge you more because it's more difficult to get the photos correct. But the book, Amazon doesn't charge you anymore. No, Amazon charges you $0. They get their cut from each book that you sell. So no more expense.
Speaking of that, and now I'm thinking of maybe I'm going to do book number 43 with photos, go back to doing books with photos. Maybe we could talk a little bit about the percentage, what Amazon takes. Because, again, I've for my other 39 books, I worked with, traditional book publishers, very well-established book publishers. But A, you don't have a lot of control, and B, they take a lot of the profits. C, you have to wait a long time, like every 6 months they pay, whereas Amazon pays every 30 days. It's 2 months behind, but they pay every 30 days. And what's amazing, and my advice, if someone does this, don't get sucked into tracking sales like 11 times a day, right? Because he's laughing.
I don't think you can avoid that, Rick.
Well, I know someone who tracks, in the beginning was tracking sales a lot. But talk about the percentages. So say someone, Tommy puts out a book and it's $15. What percentage does he get? What percentage does Amazon get?
And I think, Chad, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think part of this, and maybe this is the former accountant, the numbers guy in me, is the pricing piece. Right, because right. So pricing and percentage, how do those two? How do you figure out what it's worth as you sort all that out?
Okay, so let's start from your angle then. Let's start from pricing. People always ask me about pricing, and the best advice that I've come across is you look at what's being done in your genre and price your book competitively. So if you're coming into self-publishing and you have 10 followers on Instagram, but the guy you admire is Rick Salmon, you look at Rick's book, and Rick's selling his book for $9.99 because he's an established author. He is an expert in his field, and you might decide to yourself, you know what, I'm going to price my book at $2.99 then, because I'm going to be honest with myself in this situation. But if you're at Rick's level, I always advise that you price your book as high as Kindle will allow you, and that'll take us into the tiers. So Kindle, we'll stick with that. Kindle has two tiers. There's the 70% tier and the 30% tier. I almost always recommend that you go into the 70% tier. And when you go into the 70% tier, you are restricted in pricing for your ebook. So you're required to sell your book between 99 cents and $9.99. If you're in the 35% tier, you can sell your book for whatever price you want. Amazon doesn't care. But at that point, what they will do is they will charge you for what they call transmission, which is just them sending your book to your end reader's device. Hopefully that answers the question. I don't know if I left anything out.
No, that was. You know what? I'm just gonna take a break. I have to check my sales. I haven't done this since we started. No. I'm only kidding. Phyllis Webster, a very talented photographer, she says, if your book is only of regional interest, should you bother having it on Amazon? And what is the best approach? So in other words, she lives in Texas, Granbury, Texas, not too far, Alec, from Fossil Rim Wildlife Center. She's a wonderful photographer, great communicator, very passionate about her work along with her husband, Jack. So the question is a regional book worth putting up? So
I'll answer it this way. There's no such thing as a regional book. Excuse me 1 second. There's no such thing as a regional book anymore. We all live in the global marketplace. So, Grand Falls, Wichita is not that much different from Texas. So what you should be looking at is your audience. So there is going to be an audience of people who like picture books. There's going to be an audience of people who like books about doctors. There's going to be an audience of people who like bass guitar. So what you should do is target your book towards your audience. And even if you're going to reference your local landmarks, that usually doesn't matter, man. If you lived in one small town, maybe the small town across the way is not exactly like yours, but we're sharing the same experience more or less.
Yeah, there's another reason to publish a regional book. I think nothing gives you a credibility, or maybe not nothing. A book gives you a tremendous amount of credibility, especially a paper-bound book. Linda Denise Marshall says, "Can you do hardcover with Amazon Publishing?" So maybe you can answer that in a second. But when I was pitching, if I'm pitching something, sponsor or a travel agency for a trip somewhere. If I send them a link to a blog post, that's one thing. If they get a package and they could open the package, and they see a book, they say, hey, this guy must be somebody who has a book, right? So I think nothing.
I agree with you.
Again, not nothing, but a book gives you a tremendous amount of credibility.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. Sometimes people only want to put out the ebook version. Like I said, authors also commonly, they don't want to market. But I think even if you don't think you're going to get a lot of sales from the paperback, like you just mentioned, Rick, tremendous credibility anchor, one. And two, it's great for marketing. Like there's almost nothing better than having someone that you respect, take a photo and put up an Instagram post with your book.
Right. Well, if anybody needs advice on marketing a book, they could. I give free consultations like Chad does on marketing, and so they could either ask me by email. I know I've been helping Linda and some other people on this. So anyway, how about Amazon? Do they do hardcover books?
No, Amazon does not, but you can put a hardcover book on Amazon if you'd like. To do that, the easiest way would be to go through a place called Ingram Sparks.
Mm-hmm.
Hardcover books come in two varieties. There's case bound, that's what most of us call case hardback, but then you have case bound with the dust jacket, which is what most people think about when they think about hardcover.
Right.
To do that, you go through Ingram Sparks.
Alec, are there any other questions? Because I have a question.
There are a couple other. I kind of chuckle because they're numbers questions, and numbers questions are always near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
So at what point do you break even, right? So it's really the question that if you're selling it at $9.99 and your splits are at the 70% level, at what point in time, how many books do you need to sell before you're able to cover your costs of publishing?
It depends on who you are. So I don't want to speak for Rick, but I would venture to guess that Rick recouped the cost of the book within the first 2 months. Not everyone is going to have that same story. Most people sell 1,000 books their first year, and you'll sell more books the more books you publish. So if you sold 1,000 your first year self-publishing, the second year we're going to expect that you're going to sell I shouldn't say much more than that, but more than the 1,000 that you sold initially. But that should be your expectation, 1,000 books the first year, if you do everything well.
And you know what? If I can throw this in for discussion with you guys and for the listeners, perhaps making money isn't the main reason for writing a book. I wrote phototherapy because I thought I wanted to do something. I'm 70 now. I'm not going to be around forever. There's an expression, a writer lives forever. And I love that. Another way to say that is you could talk to people when you're dead. But right. I'm at the point where I would really like to help people. And with PhotoQuest, I have, including Linda Marshall and Alec, and Trey Ratcliffe and some other people. As you know, I have this team of all-star photo mentors. And, 20 years from now, when everyone's just on Instagram and photography is just sunset pictures, right? Beautiful sunset pictures. I wanted to do something that, was about telling people, and I'm looking at the books over here. Sorry for the distraction. I wanted to do something that showed people what people are really interested in now. So I wouldn't say that, it's nice having another source of income, but I don't think I think you have to love what you do. You have to love writing a book. You can't be thinking, okay, I'm going to make $1,000, sell 1,000 books and whatever. You do it, and then the money. Alex, the expression? It's something about you do it first and the money will come. There's something.
Yeah.
There's an expression like that. So anyway, I think you really have to love doing it. Phototherapy, I wrote one summer on my couch in my music room. Actually, Susan, she has a picture lying on my back, just like looking out the window, writing, and it was really very therapeutic. So I think we have to love what we do, whether it's that or playing bass guitar or Alec doing numbers or Chad doing the books. I know, Chad, you love doing this. Yeah, my guess is you don't wake up every morning and say, oh, how much money am I going to make doing all these books? I know you love helping people, and I don't think there's anything better than the feeling of, actually, I'm not going to share exactly what one of the people who's listening said, but this person, and I'm saying this person because I don't want to even say who it is, but this person wrote me the nicest letter saying basically that I was the biggest champion of photography on the face of the planet after reading the books. And stuff like this is worth way more than selling 1,000 books.
Yeah, I think there's some great comments coming in. Diane writes, do what you are passionate about and the money will come.
That's it.
So that's the quote. And Linda writes that she agrees. Do you think Shakespeare worried about sales? I think that's sage wisdom from Linda. And when it resonates with me, Rick, whenever you say everybody has a book in them, because we all have a story that we want to tell that's meaningful to us, that we want to share, whether it's a story told through pictures, whether it's a story told through just a series of life experiences that put us where we are today. It's about putting a legacy down.
Because I think people can see themselves in books, as you know. And Chad knows this because he read the book, about Dr. Sarno, who cured me from crippling back pain. I talk about him in this book. Anyway, in both books, actually, because he basically saved my life. And his name is Dr., for those who are interested who have any kind of pain, Dr. John E. Sarno. He has a lot of books out. One is called The Mind-Body Connection. That's one of my favorite books by him. But anyway, that was the title of his book, and I went to him and I said, Dr. Sarno, you're amazing, but you have the wrong title of the book. He said, what are you talking about? What should be the title of the book? I said, it should be called The Rick Salmon Story, because I identified with everything he said in the book. So I think when you're writing a book, that's important to think about who's reading it. And just like with photography, Alec has been on some workshops with me, and whether it's an animal or a person, the most important thing when you're out there photographing, I think, is, or one of the most important things, is respecting the subject, right? Whether it's the environment or the animal or person. And I think, Chad, whenever every paragraph I write, I think, am I respecting, on a different levels? Am I respecting the reader, their intelligence? Am I talking up or down to them? Am I communicating right? I don't even use the word crap in any of my books. I could use a lot worse 4-letter words, but I respect the reader, and I think that's really important for anyone who's writing the book to think about.
So, Rick, I just had one last question.
Yep.
And it's something that I know you've experienced recently with Amazon in terms of marketing a book. Yes, you have followers who read the books, want to compliment you on the books and review the books, but Amazon, it's getting a little bit harder to get your reviews posted.
Yeah. So what Alec is talking about is, Chad was talking about all this artificial intelligence. So Alec, I think, I know by the smile on his face, I think he genuinely likes my last 2 books, or the last, yeah. And so he wanted to post a review, but Amazon knows that we're friends. Right, Chad?
That's correct. Amazon knows a tremendous deal about most of us. So
he can't post a review. Susan, my friends, the writers, all the contributors, even though they would like to. And so I think that's just you bring up a good point.
My wife couldn't write a review either, and I'm a man of integrity, so I didn't let my dog try, but I just couldn't get that review posted.
Hey, speaking of reviews, maybe I'll talk to Chad about this just briefly before we go. Someone said, you have 1 to 5 stars. Someone said, read the reviews, throw out all the 5, don't pay any attention to all the 5, and don't pay any attention to all the 1s, because there are naysayers out there who don't like you for whatever reason. They could remind you of their father or whatever. And some of the other ones.
One guy left a review on Trey's book before it was even out, before it was even published. This guy left a 1-star review. Like, this is the worst book ever. How can you know and you've never read it? And then when Amazon sometimes hides a part of the review, you click it, and it's very, very clear that this person has some kind of, Trey Radcliffe is the worst photographer in the world.
Yeah.
Well, even if that's the case, and that's not true, but even if that's the case, what does that have to do with the book that he just wrote?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do agree with you. Discard all those 1-star reviews.
Yeah.
It's not good for your health for the same reason that I don't think people should take Twitter too seriously.
Yeah.
You don't want to be criticized every single day. Some criticism is good, but...
Well, it's very easy to set up a fake account. Actually,
Sure.
I think our listeners know this this picture, Alec. I don't know if you've seen it in Chad. I think about 10 years ago, a photographer gave a chimpanzee a camera, and somehow or other the chimpanzee turned it around and took a picture of itself smiling. So it's very famous. You can look it up. A photographer gives chimpanzee camera takes self-portraits. It was all over the internet, right? So I get a 1-star review for one of my books, and the little picture of the person was that chimpanzee.
Was the chimpanzee?
Was a chimpanzee, and the guy made up some name, and so anyway, it's kind of funny. So Chad, we wanted to wait. Diane Gordon says, "Do you want?" What is Diane saying here? Oh, do what you're passionate about.
We picked up that quote.
You got that one. Hey, Daniel says hi from Europe. Daniel is a great photographer in Switzerland. We've been trying to get over there. So Chad works around the world with
Daniel.
People. Yeah, Chad is just you're so easy to work with too. So we really want to thank you so much for being on the show. Again, this is recorded, so for the listeners who want to share this with their friends, we can make just a watch party out of that, right, Alec?
Absolutely, we can do that. And Tommy, I think just very quickly, I think the best thing for you would be to reach out to Chad directly with that question and kind of start do a 10 or 15 minute conversation with him and think about a next step. So if you don't, so maybe we just Chad, just give everybody your email in case they want to get in touch with you.
So the easiest way to get in touch with me is just go to nosnakeoil.com. nosnakeoil.com.
Which means you're really telling the truth, because there was something about writing nights. Someone else has a similar website, right?
Yeah, so somebody's cyber squatting on, I can't call it my domain, but in the dead of night I came up with this idea for writing nights, but I was very, very stupid about that. No one can, if I say to Alec, go to my websites, it's writingnights.org, he doesn't know if I mean RIDING or
right.
WRI. Yeah, so I miffed that. So nosnakeoil.com, easier for people to find, but it will take you to writingnights.org. Easiest place to get in touch with me.
Well, thank you so much, Chad, coming to us live from Jamaica. Hope to get down there, maybe have a pina colada, rum and coke. Alec is on we have a happy hour every Thursday at 5:00. So maybe we could fly down and do like happy hour with Chad sometime with Juan.
I'd be up for it as soon as we're all good getting on a plane. I'm ready to go.
As soon as they open it up, I'm happy to have you guys.
Okay, and Alec, thank you so much for you've become an expert at the hosting and switching screens and putting up the shots. So I really want to thank you for being a great co-host on this.
All right, my pleasure, and everyone enjoy the rest of your weekends.
Okay, bye everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you guys.